Stan, here we are in the man cave, Bundeswehr. I just thought I'd put something on. Excuse me. Me and my wife had a nice dinner at that little airfield. It was first rate, I have to say. I don't always speak to my wife like that. It's just a joke, honestly. I think she did rather a good job this time. Didn't try and upstage me. But yeah, Fishburn Airfield. If you're ever around this way, it's not worth driving miles and miles for. But anyway, ordinary life, time again. But this is going to be, I'm going to keep it at 20 minutes, no longer, because it's a long one. This is going to involve more of my personal life as well. Nothing too serious, don't worry about it. But that's just about my time in Australia. And it was 9-10 months, nearly a year, better part of a year. I spent out there before I met Mrs. Stan. So I had no sort of, nothing, no sort of structure in my life. You know, I had no sort of commitments, so that's why I buggered off to Australia. Like a recap, I'd landed there, I'd chaperoned my mum and my two little sisters. I helped to take them over there. They were going for a holiday. I'd gone with a work and visa to hopefully get a job when I was over. That was the idea. If I didn't like it, I'd come back. My mate was already out there, lad who stayed out there. He's still out there now. And this is what my experience was. So I'll just get straight into it. Try and keep it to 20 minutes. That should be halfway through the year, 6 months in, whatever. So I got there and I got up on the morning. You know, we landed later at night. Sydney. So the actual region was called Illawarra, Dapto, a place called Dapto, where my auntie and uncle live. Now, for sake of this video, I've got an auntie and uncle in Perth, Western Australia. My dad's side, I've got the auntie and uncle in Sydney. My mum's side of the family. He's actually my great uncle, so he's my grandmother's brother, but my uncle and auntie, cousins. You know, it's just to keep it simple. And I'd been brought up with the uncle in Perth. Was always sending photographs back of how he built his own house. It was sand, it was palm trees. And you got to remember those days before the internet. If you didn't read it in a book or see it on TV, you know, how else are you going to get your information? So I had this picture in my mind of Australia being, like a cartoon of a paradise island with palm trees and stuff. So I wake up in New South Wales, winter time, their winter, and I'm thinking, whoa, what's this place? It looked a bit like, so I suppose, like Neighbours. Yeah, it looked like Neighbours. In fact, the street my auntie live in still now, they're still kicking about. It looked sort of like Neighbours, green, very green. New South Wales, you know. It's and also I'd like to say that, you know, some of my family may watch this video, so I can't lie or exaggerate, even though you're always exaggerating stories over the years. And also there's some, if I get to the point where there is some law enforcement stuff, I have actually looked this up to see if I was right or wrong regarding certain things, and I'm not sure. So if anyone who's in any armed forces, law enforcement or ex-law enforcement person, especially someone from Australia, and you think I've said something wrong, it's only from memory, and if I stand to be corrected, but you know, we'll roll on with that. So my cousin got up the next morning. There was 4 cousins. One 10-year-old than me, so he had family. He was moved out. One the same age as me, and he was born in Britain. My auntie and uncle emigrated, and he always said he hated Australia. From being a kid, he was a very small child when they went like 1 or 2 years old. He's exactly the same age as me. And I can't remember the timeline, but he, as soon as he was 18, 19, he popped up. I believe, I haven't really connected with my cousin about this, the full story. I can't remember the exact story. He literally buggered off to Europe and didn't come back. Near enough, that was how he has been back since, but he spent the rest of his life living in France. So I've never met him. And it was only a year or two, I think, maybe 2-3 years, can't remember exactly. He left, I turned up on the scene, so I probably fit into a gap with the brothers. There's another brother a year younger, and the youngest one was the one I spent most of my time with, a top bloke. If you're watching this, cousin, I'll send you a thing over. And yeah, me and him have had a lot of laughs over the years, a lot of laughs. He's not just my cousin, he's my mate. So anyway, he gets up, do you want to go diving? I went, diving, all right. So he loads all his gear up. I was thinking tanks, you know, diving, that sort of situation. Now, it isn't. It's snorkeling, spearfishing, spear gunning. In Australia, I think it might be a worldwide thing. Again, I'm unsure, that you cannot take anything. You can't spearfish with tanks. I think in Australia, certainly not. It's not fair for the fish. You just sit there and go bip, bip, bip. So he wanted someone to sit on the shore and watch, make sure everything. He's not supposed to go on your own. So he's out diving, and I'm looking around thinking, well, what is this place? This isn't how I thought Australia would be. You know, it's it was very, very unsettling. Not unsettling in a nasty way. It just, how can I describe it? It looked so much like Britain in some respects, with a twist of an eye, and then it didn't. It was really, really weird. If you've never been to Australia, imagine what you think like New Zealand looks like. That's New South Wales seem to look like that to me, personally. So I mean, I'll go on about the diving thing first. So he said, like, do you want to go diving? You want to try it? And I said, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So this probably isn't chronologically correct, but I eventually, one day, hadn't been there long, I loaned a wetsuit. I might have bought me goggles, can't remember. So I've got everything you need, because the water is quite cold, even, and winter is the time you can go catching lobsters. So we went down to this place. I think it was Kiama. It was Kiama. Right, I write little notes down in it. Yeah, and we get there, and I'm thinking, I've got a speed gun, got a knife strapped to my leg. I'm thinking, I'm James Bond. I am James Bond. And I get in here. I mean, I was 21. I wasn't young, dead young, but still, still wet behind the ears. I get in this water here, and we're just about to leap in. There was my cousin and one of his mates, I think. I went to my cousin. Now, my cousin is the prince of underestimation, if that makes sense. The amount of times he said, "Don't worry about it." Yeah. Anyway, just about to jump in the water. I went, "Hang on a minute, cousin. There's no sharks in here, is there?" He went, "Sharks in here? Here, mate? No." Yeah, the only shark attack that had been in that area, that region, was about 2 weeks before, I think, in that spot. The actual water I was jumping into. When I found that out, I was like, well, how do you work that? I was poking it with his speed gun, mate. He deserved it. Not something you want to hear, but the shark interactions, I believe, years ago were less than today. I can't remember. There is a reason for it. I mean, sharks were persecuted years ago in Australia, but the shark numbers are up. The shark interactions are definitely up. I was talking to my cousin not long ago, and he mentioned that. So I jumped in the water. This isn't like snorkeling when you're on holiday in the Caribbean or something. It's cold water. You jump, it's a bit murky, and the first thing that came towards me was a great big fish called a rock cod, big googly eyes, and I went snorkel filled with water. I jumped in, I jumped out, laid on the rock. I just completely utter alien world. But it developed a lifelong love for me for freediving. That's something I still do to this day. Not enough, but I still do it, even in the UK. And me and my cousin had many, many dives together over the years. There was one where I think I might have already touched on this, where I nearly drowned. I'd gone out with him and his mate, and I can't remember whether it was particularly cold that day, but I put another skin over the top of me. I was having trouble paddling. I got caught in a rip. I remember looking down. I think it was an engine block on the seabed, and I was stuck. I was getting pushed back over, and I started to panic. And I remember my old headmaster at school had said, "If you panic, you're going to drown." I think I've already covered this. So I just relaxed, dropped my weight belt, went underwater, popped up, swam in. My fin got split in half, and I really got smacked on some rocks. But it's a lesson learnt there. Like, you don't panic in the water. And if I do get this far today, there was a nature reserve nearby, and you're not allowed to spear your gun or collect anything when you're in there, because it's a reserve. I believe Aboriginal people can, native Australians can, they can, but you can't if you're not a native Australian. And we'd been diving there a few times. It's quite sheltered, it's quite an easy dive to do. And my cousin said, we went there one day and there was a couple of guys in there spear fishing. And he said they want to be careful because this is one of the law enforcement things I was about, the wildlife police or whatever they were called. They catch you, they can prosecute, they can take your car off you, your equipment, everything else. And may God strike me down with a bolt of lightning. Now, we were watching these two fellas as we were getting ready to go in, and a guy appeared out the bush, white shirt on, with a big radio, map, 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 and a few more fellas appeared, and they literally shouted them over. I remember them picking one of them out of the water like that, and they carted them off. So whether they lost all their equipment or not, I don't know, but it was a thing that. I also joined a local rugby club, as you do when you're a rugby type. My cousin was rugby league. He was pro rugby league player. He was like the under 21s at the time. One of my other cousins was an AFL player. There was an oval straight across from me auntie's house. And I did train with them a couple of times, but that was only because I didn't know where the rugby grounds were. The So I did start playing for a local club. I played for them in 91, 92. And in 2007, when I went back to Australia, I played for them again. There was one bloke remembered me. He said, "Oh, you're such and such's cousin." I think I've touched on that before. But one of the games I played was at a place called Bowral. And Bowral's in the Highlands. The Highlands. It's elevated on a plateau, if you like. So the weather can be a lot different. Really cold. When we get to this place, my uncle would come down to watch, have a beer, and we'd start the game. It started snowing. I'm going, "What the what's going on here?" And this Aussie guy goes, "You look at the top half of Mel Gibson." He went, "What's your problem, Pommy?" I said, "It's snowing." He went, "You should be fucking used to it." But yeah, you wouldn't expect it, would you, snowing? But it did. We had our end of season dinner on a paddle steamer. It might be a steamer, it might be a boat, like just a diesel engine. But it was a paddle steamer on the lake in front of my auntie's house. That was quite a memorable end of season dinner. So I also went skiing. Now, I didn't know there was snowy mountains. I didn't know anything about that at all. But my cousin said, "Do you want to go?" My elder cousin was going with some of his mates, and so the trip was set. Now, back to my living arrangements. So my mum was stopping for 6 weeks, a couple of months, can't remember, and I had this working visa. And after a week, I mean, I was sort of pretty, hey, you know something? I mean, there'll always be a part of me that loves Australia. That makes sense. There's always a part of me that want to live there. It just didn't happen for me and my wife that we settled there. There was other outside pressures, if you like, that we came back. If we'd had children, maybe that might have been different. I don't know. But I have spent 4.5 years of my life, 5 years of my life in Australia over 3 periods. So, became an Aussie citizen. So there's always that thing there. Try and make it funny. I know I'm rattling, Anna. So I went and got the kit, hired the kit, sorted out the kit to go skiing. Great stuff, right? So we were going on the Friday, so it was like 3 nights. And my mother must have been still there because my auntie and uncle were taking my mum, my 2 little sisters, a friend was also there and her daughter. They were taking them up the coast for a holiday, right? Went down the wrong way. My auntie's house in Dapto. You look out across the paddock, there's the Lake Illawarra. Now, to go on the lake with a boat, you have to have a license, you have to have auxiliary motor, there's loads of things that you have to do to be legal on the lake. Now, my uncle was a ex-rigger, ex-merchant seaman from Middlesbrough, so he had an accent just like mine. He's still got an accent like mine, even though he's been living in Australia 50 odd years. And he is a top bloke, and also a bit like my father, takes no shit. You know what I mean? That type of gruff northerner. I mean, my dad, when I left here, excuse me, I had a black 2-litre Sport Capri, quite a natty car for the time. It was worth a bit of money. And I said to my dad, "Can I leave it in your garage while I bugger off to the side of the world for a year?" "Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. I'd only been there about 2 months. Phone rings, my auntie's. "Hello? Here, this car of yours, I'm giving it to the fucking scrap man." That, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, good old dad. Anyway, so my uncle said to me and my cousin, and also the living arrangements, I'd said to my auntie, "Well, can I stay? I want to stay, because I'm going to get a job." "Yeah, no problem. As long as you pay your board and lodge, you can stay, no worries." You got to remember, like, the son that was my age had left. So, and my other elder cousin lived with his wife. My cousin was 2 years younger than me, or a year younger than me. He's living with his mate. So there was me, the youngest cousin, and my youngest cousin's mate. It was like, you see on Neighbours, people just moving into a house. It did seem like that. My uncle said, and I quote to me and my cousin, as he was leaving in his little camper van thing with my sisters and my mother, "Don't take that boat," because he had a speedboat, fishing boat. "Don't take that boat on the lake, because the licenses ran out, right?" Huh? Off he goes in his camper van. Oh, he's gone. Let's get the boat out. Now, my uncle probably won't ever watch this, but if he did, he'd probably throw me up and give me a bollocking for laughing. But it was my cousin's idea, it wasn't mine. I don't know, maybe. So this was the night before we were getting picked up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go skiing. Now, it's Australia, it's winter, it's sunny on a day, on a night time, it's cold. So we get in his mate's ute. I think there was 4 of us, there might have been 5 of us. We hook up the fishing boat, petrol station, for fueling up the boat, So the guy comes out and he says to my cousin, "Hey, aren't you my uncle's name, son?" He goes, "Oh yeah, how's your dad doing? I haven't seen him for ages." As he's fueling the boat thing up, right? Okay. So that he got distracted is relevant to the story. So we get down the boat ramp. Bear in mind, we haven't got a license. We haven't got an auxiliary motor. We didn't have life jackets. I can't remember. All the things that you're supposed to have, we didn't have. We just had the boat with the big motor on the back. We get down there, as we were lowering the motor and something snapped off. So there's the first disaster. Anyway, we get it in the water and we're gunning it across the lake. It's an open at the sea lake. I don't think there was any speed limits. And my uncle's boat was an old fishing boat thing, but it could shift. And my cousin, yeah, you can have a go at this. And I'm driving this thing across the lake. 21-year-old. I'm in Australia. I'm living the dream. You know, this is. Someone stopped. What happened there? My cousin, what have you done? I said, I haven't done anything. I don't know. I've never touched it. So we tried to start it. The thing wasn't starting. We were stuck in the middle. Anyway, fiddle. It started again. We headed off across to a place called Windang, which is quite shallow, and it did it again. This time, we couldn't get it started. It wasn't having it at all. So, I think we had a radio, but we can't radio for help, because we haven't got a licence, see. You can find. My uncle might got his boat took off him. We haven't got an auxiliary motor. We did have oars. So we started paddling. There might have been 5 of us, paddling. Now, we're literally 2 mile away from the shore. We couldn't, from where we wanted to be. And it started coming dark. And it gets dark pretty quick in Australia, and it got cold, and we're in shorts and t-shirts. And literally, you can understand how people die of exposure. We ended up in the middle of the lake, caught in a current, just sort of spinning around. All the lights of the houses all the way around us. We're in darkness. No one can see us. We're basically stuffed. Now, the worst thing was we're going skiing the next day. A $500 trip. They're going to go up and smoke because we're stuck here. And I suggested to my cousin it might be a good idea if he jumped in and towed it, like swam. I don't think I was that serious about it, but he did do it. He jumped in, and there was loads of jellyfish everywhere. So he got stung with an inch of his life. So he finally gets back in, and we're knacked. We were shivering on the bottom of the boat, honestly. Anyway, I think it's alright to say his name because he's dead now anyway. The guy came past in a fishing boat. I'm sure he was called Mullet Massey. And he was like, comes chugging past, fag in his mouth. "You blokes fucking stuffed, mate, or something." "Yeah, the motor's knacked." "All right. You got a smoke there?" One of the lads smoked, threw him the pack of cigarettes. So he went, I'll tow you in. So he towed us in, thank the Lord, we got back to dry land. And it turned out that the old guy who's fueling up didn't put any oil in it. So the engine was seized. And we found this out because my uncle worked for the pilot boat thing. He was a deckhand, I believe, deckhand or second mate on the pilot boat. They had their own maintenance crew. Me and my cousin took the boat down there. My uncle's waiting with the mechanical fit. This is a few weeks later. And he started it up, and it did kick in, then jammed. And he basically said to my uncle, "This motor's stuffed. They've seized it." Now, I say my uncle's a gruff northerner, and he has a gruff face like that. It got even worse from that. And just because I was not technically in charge didn't make any difference. I was in for it as well. You know, that was definitely me in trouble as well. And it's never been forgotten. But it was a good laugh, an adventure. So I was writing a little note to myself here. Sorry, bear with me. Right, so it's 20 minutes now, but I can't cut it short there. I'll have to start talking about work, I think. So I'll try. This is where it gets a bit thingy about like the law enforcement, the rights, the wheres, the whys, whys, why-fors. So I get a job. My eldest cousin had sorted it out for me because he was quite high up in the steelwork. So he got me onto this company. No longer exists anymore. They weren't there in 2007. And basically they were surface mines, maintenance, repairing longwall chains, etc., working out in the field for the mine companies. And I was just hired as like an operator, not really as a boilermaker. But when I got to work for the fella, and he found out what I was a boilermaker, I was doing boilermaking work, so just on the cheap really. But I only had a skill. I only had like a temporary work visa, so probably a bit of cheap labour, if you like. So I get to the workshop, and I got a bit of insects put in my bait box. You know, like open your bait box, there's a big bug-eyed creature there going. You know, they all left because I like jumped out my skin. Graffiti on my locker. Grow your own dope. Plant a pommy. If anyone doesn't know, pommy is a derogatory term for us English people, moaning English gits. Once we came back from working in the bush, and they had a toilet on site. The only toilet on site at the workshop was an enclosed fiberglass box. You know, they have at rock festivals, but it didn't have any chemical in it. It was just a hole full of other people's crap. And for some reason, there was a lock outside as well as inside. I had to go to the toilet. There was a 20-mile drive home. Get in there, done me bit, do me business, and they locked me in. And I started throwing rocks at it. And then one of the Aussies goes, "Let's tip the fucker over." And I just thought, if you do that, I will kill you. I'll kill all of you if you did that. They didn't. They let me out. But then it was close call. Flies. Anyway, we had to do this job on a reservoir, and the first day we got there late. We were dropping the gear off for the next week. I think there was some reason they said, "Look, we're gonna drop you off here at the gate." Now, if you're going onto reserve land or land where there's water catchment in Australia, obviously it's a dry country. This is going to run on for half an hour. The fire brigade and other authorities need access to the land, so you might get a gate with a lock thing, doodah, and there's like 5 locks on there. Could be the landowner, the water authority, the police. You know, so I'm saying that anyone can go there who's got the key to get in. And I had to do something in the lock. I can't remember what it was. It involved grinding with a cutting disc, little generator. They dropped me off. They were driving in, and they'll come back an hour later, and the job had to be done that night. So I didn't know anything about petrol really. Not really. Not petrol. And I opened the petrol tank for to fill in the generator, and it must have been pressurised. The breathing hole must have been blocked or whatever, and it went up in the air. Not fire, just the whole petrol. I saw soaked in petrol, head full in petrol. I'm like, what the hell? Right. And this is right next to a main road. And I'm thinking, I want to get this job done. How am I going to do this now? Get it done, so when they come back, it's done. So I, honest to God, again, in this day and age, it'd probably be all over TikTok or Instagram. I stripped down to me boxer shorts, just me boots and socks, and I hung me clothes over in the bush to dry off. So I'm stood by the side of the road, grinding this thing in a pair of underpants. Yeah, honestly, true, very true. And on this job, we went in, and I suppose in some respects I was an accessory to a crime, but I didn't mean to be. I hope they can't get me in retrospect. It was a lake, a reservoir, and this is where I get confused. It was the coal company that owned the land, and the rangers. There was rangers in there. I don't know who they worked for, but they were armed. 100% they were. If anyone out there from Australia who's working law enforcement things can tell me different, I have tried to look into it, but this is just from memory. And we were laying a pipeline, and we'd made it at the shop. I'd welded it up, and I can't remember how we were doing it, but it involved going out in a little boat. There was also a jetty, an old-fashioned steel jetty that needed cutting down. Now, obviously, if you've watched me ordinary life before, I'd worked in the offshore industry, shipyards, and I was used to things being done a certain way, but maybe Australia's like that. Now, certainly, yeah, it was in 2007. It's not so much like a lack of health and safety. It's just in certain parts of the industry, you just get on with it. You might climb up a ladder and get on with it. You know, I mean, health and safety is important in Australia, but if you're working in the middle of nowhere, or you've got to wait for scaffolding to turn up, there's no pipe fitter to help you or mechanical fitter. You just got to do it all. And you know, I did learn to be multi-skilled out there. So I said, I'm going to get up there and cut this thing down. We haven't got any scaffolding. So they actually unbolted the ute tray, the panels off the side of the ute, and lashed them down, and I stood on them. I mean, completely, you get the sack where I work now doing anything like that. But the job got done. We were in the middle of nowhere, so yeah, anyway. So, I'll finish this bit of work, and we'll cut off for a part 2 later on. We had we must have had a permit to get in there, or we had keys, yeah, access to get in, and but the rangers paid us a visit on more than one occasion. And once I was on the little boat with one of the labourer guys. He looked like the top half of Kevin Costner. He looked like Kevin Costner. And he was a fisherman in his spare time, goes out to sea and stuff. And he did arrange to meet me at a boat ramp once at 3:30 in the morning. He was going to take me out to sea, but he never turned up, so that was a waste of my time. Anyway, we're out on this little boat, and again, this is just from memory, a speedboat came around the corner. Now, this lake, it could drop, the water level could drop over the weekend quite a lot, because obviously a hot country, demand for water, it's a precious commodity in Australia. And these blokes came around the corner, speedboat, and they were rangers, and they were armed. I'm sure there was one at the top in the front with a shotgun, sunglasses on. I'm not making it up. It's just, yes, I saw what I saw. And they came right to us, and he said, "What are you blokes doing?" I said, "Oh, we're laying a pipeline. We must have had paperwork or something to be there. We must have. Laying a net across here, are you?" Well, he's talking to me. I went, no, not at all. Right. And off I went. As soon as we were out of sight, the Aussie I was working with went, "Give us a hand with this, mate." He'd laid a net out. I was like, "Oh, God, fucking hell, what are you doing that for?" $10,000 fine or whatever it was. Anyway, luckily, he hadn't caught anything, so no laws were broke. Well, I suppose it was putting the net out was breaking the law itself. But the most curious character, I'll just go back to describing the place. It reminded me like sort of Vietnam. There was palm trees in the bush. It was a long sandy track all the way in, and it was very, to me, very very alien environment, but very interesting. Snakes, stuff like that, creeping about. Interesting. It was an interesting job, that, to be honest. But anyway, one of the rangers was a guy that, I don't know if we nicknamed him Dirty Harry or he nicknamed himself Dirty Harry. And from memory, something had happened where the government had took the guns off him, handguns, but they'd just given them back. I'm not really sure if it was a Magnum, but he was armed. And he had greased back silver hair, big sunglasses on, and he was full of shit. Like basically, God almighty, the people like that could walk around with guns on the hips, but I suppose that's a problem worldwide, isn't it? Anyway, we were stood talking to him one day. I wasn't talking to him, the Aussie lads were. And basically, they were asking him about people growing marijuana, weed, in the reserve and how he deals with it, because that was his problem. Because obviously, you've got the climate for it, you don't need greenhouses and stuff. And he stood there and he said, "I came up here the other week and caught these 4 blokes gathering their crop with machetes. I said, 'Hey, what are you doing there?' He said, one of them came towards me with a machete in his hand, and he said, what would you do, mate, if I came at you?" He said, "I am not lying. He put his hand on his hip. He went, "I put my hand on my gun, and I said to him, I'll shoot you in the guts, and you'll die like a dog." How does that fuck off? Like, get the fuck. Oh, man alive. That's strange. We went to Yabbian, not far from there. I don't think it was on the government land. I hope not. And we got a load of Yabbies, me and my cousin and his girlfriend. And we were covered in leeches. And we got back to the car. The fire brigade were nosing all around our car. I thought it was the police at first. I thought, oh God, are we on the wrong land here? We're going to get done for poaching. But Yabbies, very interesting, like a freshwater lobster. The lobsters in Australia don't have claws. They're like a crayfish. But the Yabbies have nippers. And how we caught them. You get a little welding rod and you tie a bit of fishing wire to it and have a bit of a woman's type rotten meat in, and you just put it down as a bit of bait, and they all come around it and you scoop them up and put them in a bucket. It's an interesting thing to do. So, this job rolled around. There wasn't really anything special. Some days we were slack. We ended up working on top of an old mine, and there was a lumberjack there, believe it or not. He was chopping the wood by fashioning timbers for this. I think it was an old mine shaft, and they were replicating the pit head out of timber. So I can't remember what I was doing in there, probably as little as possible as always. But nice to have work in that sort of environment. Now, the job came to an end. This was probably October time, so I'd been there about 3 months maybe. Job came to an end. Simply, they let me go. I was always late. When I was younger, I was sackless. You turn up, I wouldn't say late, but right on the button. Whereas, like, you get a bit older, I turn up to work half an hour early now. But when you're young, you're a bit daft. And it's probably, they put me on my notice. Fair enough. So I'm on my notice. And whilst I'm on my notice, one of the fitters who worked there sidles up to me and says, "Do you want a job?" And I thought, I went, well, yeah, you want to come and work for me? I said, you work here? He went, I've got my own business in the bush, rural Australia. It doesn't, you don't have to go far to get into it. It's not the bush as in the middle of nowhere. He had a property outside of one of the country towns, Goulburn, and on his property he had a fab shop. This is going to be part 2 of this bit. I'll get the photographs. I'll show you. He had a workshop attached to his house, and he said, "Come and work for me. Come to this address on Sunday night, and we'll see how you get on. I'll employ you as a boilermaker. I'll pay you the same as you get here now. All your food will be in." I thought, all right, okay. So I goes home that night and says to my cousin, "Do you know where that is?" He went, "Hey, middle of fucking nowhere, mate." All right, so Sunday night, he jumps in my auntie's old car, and I didn't know how long I was going to be there for. Was I working 7 days a week, 6 days a week? I didn't know. He gets up there. I always remember the address in my mind. I'm obviously not going to say it now, but it was Lot 32, something road. So we drove along. It is still. I think was it still winter? New South Wales weather can be sometimes. It was pissing down, like hammering with rain. We drove up through the escarpment road. Gets on the top. It's about an hour or 2 hours away. 2 hours away from my auntie's place, and we get to the sign with the road on. And it was like off a horror film, like a white sign, hand painted, "This way." So he goes up. My cousin's like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know." We pulls in onto this property, and there was just pitch black. There's no street lights. And I'm thinking, my cousin's like, "Do you know where? Do you know?" I said, "No mobiles. There's no phone number. I can't ring him." And we were just about to turn around and go, and a chink of light opened in the middle of nowhere, just there. And it was his workshop attached to his house. The house was attached to it. And out came the fella, and he gave me a wave, and I went, "All right, well, I suppose this is me." Grabbed me bag, my cousin, off went. So I'm in the middle of sodden nowhere, living with his family, and the sleeping arrangements. I'll get into the more detail, but basically, this house was like a load of porta cabins attached to the workshop. The main kitchen and living area, in the corner, was a bunk bed. His son, about 6-year-old, was in the bottom bunk. I was in the top bunk. There was a hole, like an archway. The man and wife were in bed there, just there, and his 2 daughters lived in a porta cabin downstairs. And you think, so I'm getting up in the morning in my underpants, just the family all around eating breakfast. Yeah, I'm sure I wouldn't do it now. But when you're 21 or 22 by this time, you take it all on board, don't you? So I'm going to wrap that up now, because the Australia one might end up being in 3 parts, but big part of my life. And hopefully you've enjoyed that. And I'll leave it like that for now. So this is Stan. Part 2 might be another month or so. Get your head around it. So this is Stan, and I will see you.